We already noted that Jesus' followers seem to have initially perceived his death as a blow to the hopes that he would function as the Davidic Messiah, bringing redemption to Israel. Indeed, the biblical tradition does contain descriptions of charismatic figures undergoing suffering. The famous example is chapter 53 from the book of Isaiah, where it can be the anointed prophet himself who is portrayed as the suffering servant of God. And the death of the anointed one or ones was part of dramatic prophetic forecasts, as for example in Daniel 9, where the death of Messiah is mentioned. As suggested by an Israeli scholar, Israel Knoll, in his book Messiah Before Jesus, the motif of a suffering charismatic teacher, with possible references to both Daniel 7 and Isaiah 53, can be discerned also in the Thanksgiving scroll from Qumran. However, in all such cases, suffering and death are not overtly linked to the Davidic messianic claimant, whose function might have been supposed to be victorious, with an emphasis on might have been, since we do not have full information. The response to the failure of the Bar Kokhba revolt, 132 to 135 CE, is rather telling here. Bar Kokhba was seen by his adepts, including the famous early sage Rabbi Akiva, as a would-be Davidic redeemer from the Roman rule. Trying post factum to somehow cope with the fiasco of the attempt, later rabbinic tradition developed the notion of the suffering quote-unquote Messiah of Joseph. This is how Bar Kokhba should then be viewed, reserving the role of the victorious Redeemer to the future Davidic Messiah. In any case, Jesus' crucifixion constituted the foundational trauma of his Son of David messianic adventure. We observed how early Christian narrative, for example in Luke 24, addresses this problem head-on, claiming that in contradistinction to what may have been thought about the Davidic Messiah, the scriptures teach us that he had to suffer, die, and only afterwards, quote-unquote, enter into his glory. In other words, the preordained scenario is different from what was expected from the Davidic Messiah, an expectation that had found its expression in the description of Jesus' kingly and for a fleeting moment only victorious entry into Jerusalem. We will discuss now what exactly were the variegated explanations for the debacle of Jesus' death, explored by early Christian tradition, in addition to the general claim that it happened according to the scriptures.